Hello, everyone. Welcome to English Insights. Today, we want to talk about a very important question. Why is it very difficult for the United States, USA, to invade Iran, like they did with Iraq in 2003? What would happen if the US launched a full-scale invasion to Iran? The USA has a very strong army. They went into Iraq quickly in 2003. But Iran is very different. Many smart people say that invading Iran would be much, much harder, maybe impossible, for the USA. We will look at the main reasons why. We will talk about Iran's land, its army, its people, and the big effects around the world. This English video will help you understand everything clearly. We are just explaining the big differences, not saying what is right or wrong about past events. Part 1. Iraq in 2003. A different time. First, let's think about Iraq in 2003. This will help us see why Iran is not the same. In 2003, Iraq had a strong central government, but its army was not as strong as it used to be. It had fought a very long and hard war with Iran in the 1980s. This war lasted for many years and cost a lot. This made the Iraqi army weaker over time. Also, after a war in 1991, other countries put sanctions on Iraq. Sanctions are like special rules that stopped Iraq from buying many important things from other countries, especially new weapons and modern army equipment. This meant Iraq's army had to use older machines and could not get the latest technology. Their air force was limited, and their ground forces were not as powerful as they needed to be to face a strong attacker. The land in Iraq is mostly flat deserts. This type of land is very good for an army that wants to move fast. Flat land helps tanks and other big army vehicles move easily and quickly across large areas. This lets them go far in a short time. Airplanes can fly low and see everything very clearly from above. This helps them find targets and support the soldiers on the ground without many natural things blocking their view. It is also easy to bring many soldiers and all their food, water, fuel, and tools, called supplies, across the flat land. There are not many big mountains or thick forests in Iraq that defenders could use to hide or to stop a large, fast-moving army. This made it much easier for the invading forces to advance quickly and control large areas. Also, the people in Iraq were not all united. There were different groups of people in the country, and some of these groups had faced difficulties under the government that was in power. This meant that, when the USA went into Iraq, the Iraqi forces defending the country were not always working together as one strong team. Some parts of the military might not have fought as hard as others. Also, some people in Iraq even hoped that the USA would make things better for them, so they did not fight against the invading army. The Iraqi government at that time also did not have many strong friends in other countries around the world. So, it did not get much outside help when the invasion happened. This lack of unity and outside support made the country's defense weaker. Because of all these reasons, Iraq's army being older and weaker, its flat land being easy to move across, and its people not being fully united, The USA and its allies were able to quickly defeat Iraq's main army in 2003. They went into Baghdad, the capital city, in just a few weeks. The government changed fast. This quick win might have made some people think that invading other countries would be easy, and that a powerful army could always win fast. But Iran is a very, very different story. The lessons learned from Iraq cannot simply be applied to Iran because the two countries present vastly different challenges in every major aspect of a military conflict. Part 2. Iran's Hard Land, a Natural Castle. The biggest and most important reason why Iran is so much harder to invade than Iraq is its very special and difficult geography. Geography means the natural shape of the land, like mountains, deserts, rivers, and seas. Iran's land is like a very strong natural castle or a big natural wall that protects it. It's not easy for anyone to get inside. Imagine a very large country that has high, rough mountains all around it and even inside it. These mountains are like giant, rocky walls that keep people out. To the west, there are the immense Zagros Mountains. These mountains are very long, stretching for hundreds of kilometers, and they are very steep and rough. They are incredibly difficult to cross. They act like a big natural wall between Iran and its neighbor to the west, Iraq. Any army trying to come from Iraq would have to go through these huge mountains. To the north, the Alborz Mountains are also very tall, and some parts have snow all year round, even in summer. It is very hard to go through these mountains because the paths are narrow, and the weather can be very cold, snowy, or windy, making it dangerous. Even inside Iran, beyond these main mountain ranges, there are many smaller but still very big groups of mountains. These mountains crisscross the country, making the land very bumpy and hard to move across. What does this difficult mountain land mean for an army that wants to invade? It is very, very difficult for tanks and other heavy army machines to move fast. There are only a few roads, and they are often narrow and winding, going around cliffs and through valleys. These roads are easy places for Iran's defenders to set up traps or attacks. Soldiers would have to climb up and down and fight in very hard places. They would get tired very quickly, and it would take a very long time to move even a short distance. Also, it is easy for Iran's soldiers to hide in the mountains. They know the land very well. They can make sudden, surprise attacks on an enemy army that is moving slowly and in a line through narrow mountain paths. Furthermore, it is very hard to bring food, water, fuel, and weapons, all called supplies, for a big army through these high, cold, and dangerous mountains. This means an invading army cannot be very big, and it cannot move very fast or very often. It would constantly struggle to get enough supplies to its soldiers. In the middle of Iran, there are two very big, dry, and hot deserts. These are called the Dasht-e-Kavir, which means Great Salt Desert, and the Dasht-e-Lut, which means Empty Desert. These deserts have almost no water. They get extremely hot in the summer, so hot that it's dangerous to be outside, and they can be freezing cold in the winter. It is very hard for normal people to live there, and it would be even harder for a big army to cross them. An army trying to go through these deserts would face extreme heat or cold. Many soldiers could die from thirst, heat stroke, or lack of shelter before they even got close to a city or a fighting area. Also, there is no place to hide in the desert. The land is flat and open, so an army would be easy to see and attack from the air. Giving supplies to an army in such a dry, empty place is a huge problem that would need a lot of air support and protection. Iran also has long coastlines in the south, on the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. These might seem like easy places to land soldiers. But even if an army lands there, they would quickly face mountains or deserts nearby. This means it would still be very hard to move inland to the cities. There are not many easy ways from the coast to the main places where people live. Any invading force would quickly find themselves in difficult terrain. Also, Iran is very close to the Strait of Hormuz. This is a very narrow part of the sea where a lot of the world's oil goes through every day. Iran can easily block this strait. If they do, oil prices around the world would go up very high. This would cause huge money problems for many countries everywhere, hurting the global economy very badly. This ability to cause major global problems is another big reason why a full invasion is something countries try to avoid. So, Iran's high mountains and vast hot deserts are like big, strong natural walls. They make it very slow, very dangerous, and very expensive to invade Iran. Nature itself is Iran's first great defense. It's like trying to break into a giant, naturally built castle, where every step inland means fighting against the land itself, making any military plan incredibly difficult to succeed. Part 3. Iran's strong army, not an easy fight. The second big reason why invading Iran is so much harder than Iraq is because of Iran's military strength and the smart way it plans to fight. Iran's army today is very different from Iraq's army in 2003. Iran has a very big army. It has about 610,000 active soldiers who are ready to fight every day. It also has many reserve soldiers, about 350,000 people who can be called to fight quickly if needed. On top of that, there are millions more people in volunteer groups like the Basij who are trained and very loyal to Iran's system. If there was an invasion, this means Iran could bring many people to fight to protect their country. This large number of fighters makes Iran's defense very strong and very deep. After its revolution in 1979, Iran created a special army group called the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC. This group is very powerful and very loyal to Iran's leaders. Their main job is to protect Iran's revolution and its Islamic government. They are well-trained, disciplined, and deeply committed to fighting any enemy. They are not just like a normal army. They are a strong force ready to defend their country's core ideas. They would fight with extreme determination. Iran's army also has a lot of experience with war. Iran fought a very long and very difficult war with Iraq from 1980 to 1988. This war lasted for 8 years. It was very brutal, and many people on both sides died or were hurt. But Iran did not give up. They learned important lessons about fighting, how to defend their land when they did not have all the best weapons, and how to keep fighting even when things were very hard. This long war made Iran's army and its people very tough and prepared for future conflicts. Iran knows it cannot win a typical big war against a very powerful country like the USA, with its many modern planes, tanks, and ships. So, Iran uses a special way of fighting called asymmetrical warfare. Asymmetrical means not equal or not the same. Iran tries to fight in ways that use its strengths against a bigger enemy's weaknesses. This makes it very hard for a stronger army to win easily. For example, missiles. Iran has a very large number of missiles, long rockets that can carry bombs. Some of these missiles can fly very far and hit targets like big ships in the Persian Gulf or army bases in countries near Iran. These missiles are often hidden in secret underground places, making them very hard for an enemy to find and destroy from the air. They can be used to hit invading armies or to hit back hard if Iran is attacked. Drones. Iran has built many drones, small flying robots. These drones can be used to watch enemies from the sky without putting pilots at risk. They can also be used to attack targets. They are cheap to make, but can still cause problems and fear for an enemy army. Small boats. In the Persian Gulf, Iran has many small, fast attack boats. These boats are designed to quickly surround and attack much larger warships. They can shoot missiles or torpedoes, making it very dangerous for big naval ships in the narrow waters. This strategy is hard for big navies to fight against. Underground places. Iran has built many secret tunnels and underground rooms all over the country. They use these to hide their weapons, missile launchers, and important places like nuclear sites. This makes it almost impossible for an enemy army to destroy all of Iran's military power just by bombing from the air. Much of their strength is safe underground. Friend groups. Iran also helps other groups in the Middle East. These include groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon and some groups in Iraq, Syria, and Yemen. Iran gives them money, weapons, and training. These groups could fight against the USA and its friends in other places in the region. This would make any invasion of Iran much bigger and harder to manage, as the fighting would spread beyond Iran's borders. So if an army tries to invade Iran, it would face a very big, experienced, and very determined army. This army uses smart and tricky ways to fight and would make the invasion very hard, very long, and very costly in terms of soldiers' lives and resources. This is a completely different fight compared to what happened in Iraq in 2003. Part 4. United People and Strong National Pride. The third very important reason why invading Iran is much harder than Iraq is because of how united the people of Iran are and their strong national pride, especially when they face an attack from outside their country. Iranians have a very long and proud history, going back thousands of years. As we talked about before, this long history makes them feel a very strong sense of nationalism. Nationalism means loving your country very deeply and wanting it to be strong, free, and independent. They are very proud to be Iranian and proud of their ancient Persian culture, which is very old and rich. This strong feeling means that many, many people in Iran, even those who might not always agree with their government, would put aside their differences and fight very, very hard against any foreign army trying to take their country. They would see it as a fight for their home, their families, and their history. Iranians remember that many powerful countries have tried to control them throughout history. They also remember the long and very bloody war with Iraq in the 1980s. In that war, which was terrible, many countries, including the USA at different times, quietly helped Iraq. This long history of facing outside threats has made Iranians deeply careful about other countries trying to interfere in their affairs. It has also made them very united when they face an attack from outside. Even if there are different ideas or small disagreements among people inside Iran, a direct foreign invasion would almost certainly make nearly everyone in the country unite against the invader. People would forget their internal problems to protect their country and its freedom. They would see it as a threat to their way of life, their culture, their land, and their independence, not just as a fight against their current government. They believe their country's very existence would be at risk. If Iran were invaded, the government could call on millions of ordinary citizens to fight. They have volunteer groups like the Basij, which are made up of very committed people ready to defend their nation. This means that any invasion would not just be a fight against a professional army. It would quickly become a very long, very hard, and very bloody war against a huge number of determined people who are very proud of their country and ready to defend it to the end. This readiness for a long fight would include guerrilla warfare, where small groups hide and attack, and very difficult city fighting. So, unlike Iraq in 2003, where some people might have welcomed the invaders, in Iran, a foreign invasion would face huge, widespread, and continuous fighting from a population that is very proud of its country and deeply committed to its defense. This strong unity and readiness to fight makes a normal invasion very hard to win for a long time. It means that even if an army could take some land, it would never truly control the people or the country. Part 5. Big Problems for the World. Too High a Price. The last and perhaps most important reason why the USA cannot really invade Iran is because of the huge problems and dangers it would create for the whole world. The price would simply be too high for everyone, not just for the countries fighting. If Iran were invaded, it would cause huge chaos and make things very unstable across the entire Middle East. This region is already known for having many problems and conflicts, and an invasion of Iran would make everything much, much worse. Iran could use the groups it helps, like Hezbollah in Lebanon and other groups in Iraq, Syria, and Yemen, to attack U.S. friends in the region, like Israel and Saudi Arabia. This would cause fighting to spread to many other places. Iran could close the Strait of Hormuz. This is a very narrow and very important part of the sea where a very large amount of the world's oil goes through every single day. If Iran closes it, oil prices everywhere would go up extremely high, much higher than ever before. This would cause a huge global economic problem, hurting businesses and families in many countries around the world, possibly leading to a worldwide recession. An invasion would also start new fights and make existing problems worse in other countries like Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon, where Iran has a lot of influence. This would make the entire Middle East explode into much bigger, more dangerous, and unpredictable wars, threatening global security and peace. Many countries around the world, even those that do not agree with Iran's government, would be very strongly against a U.S. invasion. Big and powerful countries like Russia and China would be very angry. They have strong business and political connections with Iran. They would see an invasion as a direct threat to their own interests and to the way international laws and rules work. This could lead to a much bigger, more serious fight between major world powers, perhaps even a new kind of Cold War. Many countries in Europe would also speak out strongly against it. They would see it as an action that would make the world very unsafe and unpredictable. The USA would lose much of its support and trust from other countries, and its standing in the world would suffer greatly. Also, even if, by some chance, the USA could quickly beat Iran's main army, which, as we discussed, is very doubtful given Iran's military and geography, the next step, staying in Iran to control it, an occupation, would be absolutely impossible. Iran is a very big country with a very large population, over 85 million people, and they are very determined to fight. The USA has learned hard lessons from its wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. These countries are smaller and, in some ways, less geographically difficult than Iran. But even in Iraq and Afghanistan, the wars lasted for many, many years. They cost a huge amount of money, trillions of dollars, and many American soldiers died or were hurt. Even after all that, there were still many problems and ongoing fighting. Invading Iran would be many times harder, more expensive, and more deadly. There would be a constant insurgency, where small groups of people fight secretly against the foreign army for many, many years. This would cost countless lives, huge amounts of money, and would be a never-ending problem. The people in the USA, who are already tired from past long wars, would not want to support such a long, extremely costly and bloody war. So, for all these very big political, economic, and global security reasons, a full-scale invasion of Iran is simply not a good or smart choice for the USA. The possible costs, losing many soldiers, spending huge amounts of money, causing terrible problems in the Middle East, and losing trust from countries around the world are simply too high. No major country today wants to take such an enormous and dangerous risk. Part 6. Conclusion. A very different challenge. To sum up, the idea of the USA invading Iran in the same way it did Iraq in 2003 is something that army experts, leaders, and smart people around the world mostly agree is not possible or smart to do. The reasons for this belief are very clear and strong. They come from big differences between the two countries. Iraq in 2003 had an army that was not very strong due to past wars and sanctions. Its land was mostly flat and open, which was easy for an invading army to move through quickly. Also, the people in Iraq were not fully united, and some groups did not strongly support the government, which made the country's defense weaker. Iran today is a very different story. It has hard land. Its very high mountains and big dry deserts act as strong natural defenses. These make any big invasion extremely difficult, very slow, and very dangerous for an attacking army. They force an invading force into hard-to-pass areas and create big problems for bringing in supplies. Strong and ready army. Iran has a very big and experienced army, including the strong Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC. This army knows how to fight smart using asymmetrical tactics, like many missiles, drones, and small, fast boats. They would make any invasion very, very costly for the attacker. United and proud people. Iranians have a deep love for their country and a strong sense of national pride. They would unite and fight very hard against any foreign army trying to invade. This means it would be impossible to control Iran for a long time, as the invaders would face continuous resistance from the people. Big global problems. An invasion of Iran would cause huge chaos and make things very unstable across the entire Middle East. It could also lead to a global economic problem, for example, by stopping oil trade, and make many powerful countries around the world very angry. This huge cost and risk for the whole world is simply too high. So, even though the USA has a very powerful army, Iran has many special characteristics. Its challenging land, its strong and clever army, its united and proud people, and the huge global problems that would follow, that make a full invasion like the one in Iraq very unlikely and not smart. Iran is a different kind of country, and it needs a different kind of solution, which is usually found through talking and diplomacy, not through war.